Okay, so I've just started the recording now, guys, assuming you're still cool with that.
Yeah, all good.
Okay, do we think we'll get anyone else, or should we kick off?
Yeah, let's kick off. I've just texted Mel just to find out where she's at. So
Okay,
if she's not far away, she won't miss much.
cool. All right, well, thanks again for organising this and for coming along tonight, guys. Here's the dot points that you mentioned just before that we want to go through. So we've got results, race, competition, HQ, and then setting up of events, timing gates, reporting, understanding integration with SportsTG, using timing solutions to register for athletes for events. That's a lot of that was happening in winter, but yeah, you guys will probably be doing a bit during summer too. Mobile device tests for field and anything else. So first part, here's the big picture. This is, I guess, what it all looks like if you're going to draw a diagram of the moving parts of what your summer and or winter would look like. So obviously we've got SportsTG where the registrations are coming in. They come across the ResultsHQ. That's just a press of a button. Has anyone been a part of that process before to bring across members from SportsTG?
Yeah, so my role as registrar, that's what I would do, and import those new registrations.
Okay, you're pretty comfortable with that process?
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
So Ros, does that happen before a meet though? Is it, or do you do that at intervals during the week?
Well, I would do it before each meet because we also, so that's the sort of step you do before you print all those event recording sheets to make sure you've got absolutely everyone.
Okay.
Yep, so you can do that 5 times during the week, and each time you would just pick up the incremental difference of whoever has just come on board or re-registered for the season. So definitely a great idea just to do it before you print your recording sheets, Roz. That's exactly what you should be doing, so that's great. So once your members are in there, then the rest of the season is obviously based around ResultsHQ, but as you're most probably aware, that's web-based versus we've got RaceHQ and CompetitionHQ, which are local system-based. So the default for Race and CompetitionHQ is to be on Windows. So obviously you guys have timing gates, so you're already quite familiar with RaceHQ. Are you using CompetitionHQ for any of your data entry offline at the moment?
Only in emergencies.
Okay. And that's the Windows version, I'm assuming?
Yep.
Yeah. And when you say in emergencies, as in your internet's gone down and you're just trying to catch up with all the paper coming at you?
Yeah, internet's down, or we don't know what's going on, and we can't seem to upload. So yeah, we had that happen unfortunately at the Four Pillars event this year.
Okay, right. So CompetitionHQ, even if you've got good internet, some centres prefer to use that just because it's not web pages where you have to load a page and then move to the next screen and so on. You can just move around a lot quicker and without relying on internet to do so, and then upload whenever you feel like you want to or whenever you can. That's also available in iOS and Android nowadays, which is also free. So if you wanted to remove paper altogether and just do a soft copy in the field, so you're at long jump and you want to put in the 3 attempts, but you don't have good internet or you don't have to rely on internet, then your iPhone or your Android phone or tablet, whatever it is, you could be using that to enter your data and then uploading at the end of the event or when you get back to the clubhouse where you've got internet, then you can hook up to that hotspot or whatever and then upload all the data from that point on. So they're the 3 main parts there. So would you ever consider using the Android or iOS app, or you prefer just to remain on paper and just key direct to ResultsHQ?
I think, probably at some point would have to discuss and consider whether we would use it for our field results, because that is all still, pen and paper,
Yeah.
and then we manually data enter.
That's it. There's at least 3 touches. So you print it off, then put it in some folders. Somebody writes on it, and then somebody then has to key it. So there's obviously time and effort required to do all of those steps there. So there is that opportunity to just, I'm at Shotput, I've got my phone, I've got my app, and I've logged in because I was given a user profile, and I key it once, it flags plus or minus 25% anomalies if I'm keying in a result for somebody, flags PBs and also potential records on the go. So that's all those bits. So have a think about that. And some centres do it in parallel with paper, just at one event for one age group to start with, and then just see where they go from there. So check that out. Any questions about that picture?
No, not from me, mate.
All good. The family area. Who here accesses their family results in ResultsHQ at the moment?
Yep, I do.
Can't say I have. No.
So you got options there. Obviously, if you're on a phone or a tablet, it's a different looking screen to if you're on the PC. If you do get around to jumping into it and you're on the PC, then you may be aware that the hard copy achievement books are no longer getting handed out because it's all happening soft copy up in ResultsHQ in the family area. So that's where your families can have tickets soft loaded into their books based on that athlete and their tickets for high jump and long jump and so on. So that during the season or at the end of the season, they can then do a high-res PDF printout of their achievement book that they would have used to cut tickets out and stick them into their book and have a hard copy one. So that's all available up there in the webland, if that's...
Nick, just a quick question on that. What sort of feedback are you getting? Are people happy with that in terms of a digital version of their book?
Yeah, I think so. From the people that have logged in and had a look at it, it's good. So let me just jump in there quickly and I'll just show you. So this is Chris, one of the guys on the team. So this is his family's portal. So I just go to the achievement book. Once you're in here, you get to choose whichever athlete you want to focus on. And those athletes also get to load up their own profile pic to put on their front cover. So it kind of makes it a bit more special, particular to that athlete. And then once it loads up, that's a photo that she'd put in there. It then has all the relevant pages with all the same sort of information that you're used to seeing about profiles and so on, but then the relevant tickets for all the 400 meters, they've just loaded in there automatically and so on. So it's the exact same look and feel as the hard copy, just there's no paper and crinkled bits of paper and so on from glue and so on holding tickets in. So have a look in there and see what you think. But overall, we've had good feedback from those people that do go in there and utilize that service. Any other questions on the family area?
Well, just in regards to the app itself, what is it just called ResultsHQ? I just had a quick look then.
CompetitionHQ, one word.
Oh, okay. Right. Including not the family section. So there's the app for uploading results, which would be in CompetitionHQ.
Correct, that's it. Any track or field entry that you want to key in manually, CompetitionHQ is your app for that one.
And then the family is ResultsHQ, but that's the web address.
The web itself, that's right.
Yeah, okay, cool.
No worries. And once you're in there, then you get the history of the athlete's events. So here's all the events that this athlete's done, the number of PBs down the side. There's a graph for her 1K she's been doing. I can click on discus and see how that's tracked over the season. So a bit of a roller coaster there. If I wanted to look at prior seasons, and all that data's in there too. And I can just go print tickets or do reports and so on. So there's plenty of cool stuff up there for anyone that's looking for more information. So hopefully that would help relieve. Oh, so anyone that's got a Eastern 7 as well as Box Hill, that would be another centre name down here. And wherever the profile got its results from, that'd be seen along the way. If there was a region or a zone or a state event and they had results loaded in, the athlete would be able to see that against their name across their season's data.
Yeah, but currently, like region and state results, because they use a different system, they don't come up on ResultsHQ unless the centre actually enters that data. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. So in Queensland, centres that want data, the state spits that out of Meet Manager, and then we upload that for that centre. So they'll actually see that in that centre's profile and in the athlete's profile. Versus in WA, they don't use Meet Manager, they use us for everything. So by default, all the winter and all the summer and all the zones and regions and states and so on are all in the one system. So the kids just get that automatically.
So do we have to ask you guys to upload that for us? Because we've been manually entering it for our athletes, which takes a long time, as you...
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, so if you get the export from Meet Manager and it's the same structured format than what we're used to from Queensland, then we can push that up there too.
Okay.
So that comes back on this here. This is more for your nominations. If you had to nominate for an event that's using Meet Manager, then you can collate all your nominations in ResultsHQ, then export that out to a Meet Manager file, which would then let Meet Manager bring in who's doing what for which event, and as well as their PBs, if that's ever happening at some point for you guys.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so we've covered off the high level race comp and ResultsHQ. So we'll have a look at setting up events now, the process from there. Sounds like you're across that one, Rosalind, but the other guys aren't so familiar with that. So I've just jumped into Demo Center, which is just a big sand pit. So if you guys ever want to test things or have a play around without making a mess in your own center, then jump into Demo. So the center ID, so I'll just log out. Center ID is Demo, and the password is the same, capital D, Demo.
Okay, that's helpful.
So then in here, you've just got a bunch of just dummy athletes and a bunch of dates. This is whenever we're doing testing, we jump in here. Hence, there's a lot of dates that are right after each day, just incrementing along. So to go and create a new date, I'll just click on Season Calendar, or it'll come up here to Events and go to Calendar. I tend to use the top ones because they're always there versus this is only on the home page. So Event, Calendar, here's all the dates that align with what you've seen on the home page. But we're just going to go plus, so add new, put a name in. So classic for me is just calling it test. If I wanted to give it a program name, I could. Otherwise, just leave that blank. And then tonight's date is the 1st. I've got options from here. I can copy an existing meet. So if I've got my favorite program or event that I did 3 weeks ago that I want to reuse, then I could go and find it in my calendar and copy it. And then if I'm not sure what it looks like, if I've got the right one, I can just go preview date. And if there's any data in that one, it would show me.
So Nick, can I just sort of chip in here?
Yep.
So we typically run a 3 cycle program,
Yep.
A and a B and a C, and they get scheduled on multiple weeks over the summer season. Mm-hmm. Let's say there might be 15 weeks. There's 5 meets of each.
Yep.
And interspersed between, you've got various championship meets.
Yep.
So what you're saying is this is where we'd set up our A program, and then we'd allocate. Do we have to do it for each date, or can we allocate multiple dates to a program?
Yeah, so you build your calendar out date by date. So we tend to advise people not to go and build out their whole season at the start of the season because due to weather and other sorts of reasons to cancel,
right.
Things get shuffled around, but unless you're a centre that just kind of strikes a line through it and moves on regardless of if you had a washout or not. So yes, build it date by date. You could copy each week like what we're doing here, and you could create them as a favorite. Otherwise, you could set up a template. So the difference between a template versus copying an existing meet we may have done a slight tweak due to it was wet, so we cancelled the high jump. We put another event on that night or that morning, versus a template is always X, Y, and Z, because we don't edit the template on the fly. That's a separate step. So you've got two different ways to approach it, if that makes sense.
Ros, might we set up all of our meets at the beginning of the year?
No, we do week by week.
Do we? Okay.
So if I was going to create a new calendar and a new program, sticky button, so I can click both male and female, and whatever age groups I want to select, and whichever events I want to select too, and whatever I've selected will then become an event in my home page. And once I'm happy with that layout, go hit add events. So based on the number of athletes and the number of events we've chosen, it will depend on how long that takes to go and build that out, but it can take a few seconds. Then once it's finished or refreshed, and then we'll have like a matrix or a grid showing our age, gender, events that we've just built out. So right now it's also nominating every athlete for those relevant events, so that nobody has to go and nominate them again later on. So down the bottom here, I've now got my male and my female grid, followed by the age groups on the top. So genders down the side, age groups on the top. And that's just showing me what we're actually got lined up for this event tonight. And then we just repeat that process if we were building it manually. Otherwise, I could still copy an existing meet in and layer that on top of these events here. And it wouldn't duplicate long jump or high jump or the other events. If it was already there, it just wouldn't add that one, but it would add the ones that I haven't added as yet if I wanted to do that. Then on the home page, we've now got a new date. We've got 0 of 7:37, and there's no PBs, there's no records, and there's no points yet, because we haven't keyed any data in or uploaded any data against this. So if I click on the first, here's all my age, gender events that we just set up. If I wanted to key some results against them, I just click on the event, go enter edit results, and start putting in some data. When I'm happy with that, press save. If it's a new potential record, it's going to show it there. I might as well make this a record, so just press accept. We've now got a new record here that Demo did tonight, and that's also their new season best for this athlete. If I wanted to print recording sheets for that, then again I could click on this button here. We'll come up to event recording forms. It's already preloaded, predicted that I want to use tonight's date first. I could leave all my filters on and go preview high jumps, preview sheets. And this is going to print out the various age, gender event sheets based on the combination that I've built in my program. There's my athletes there, their PBs down the side. If I'm happy with that, I'm going to go print, and it'll split it out into one A4 per age, gender event. If I wanted to add blank rows, which is pretty common at the start of the season because you've got lots of newbies turning up that aren't in the system yet. So I go and add 10, and we'll see what that looks like. Oh, that's right, because I'm in print screen. That's a rookie error. I got myself a few times with that. If you're still trying to print something and you try and load it again, it won't show it. So there's some extra blank lines. Do you guys normally print your recording sheets 1 A4 per age, gender, event, or would you prefer to have one recording sheet that has all the events for that same age, gender?
Oh no, we do one sheet per age group per event per gender.
Would there be any benefit in doing the condensed version, just in case you weren't aware of that? I'll bring up what that looks like.
Probably not, because we actually don't combine the age groups and genders at the same time
Because you don't
in the
want to.
program. We don't combine the age groups and gender at the same time to do that event, so I don't really see a need.
Yep. So by that I mean this is just the 6 males, but it's got all the events. So instead of 5 bits of A4, I've now got 1 bit of A4. If that makes sense.
Yes. I mean, we could do it, but then there's a rush of data entry right at the end, which we don't like.
Fair enough. Good. So that's the recording forms and setting up a new calendar. Has anyone got any questions about that part?
No, not at this stage. I'm actually, because before you were on a results. Am I right in thinking that the example beforehand was a result sheet?
Yeah, recording form. Yeah, result sheet.
Yep, that's what Karen prints out for us every week, Steve.
Yeah, so I don't know whether this is the right time, Ros, but there was Monique had a question when we were doing cross country around how to produce the sheets, the result sheets that show team.
Oh, that's different. This is recording events.
Yeah, okay.
The field, yep.
So that's all good.
Yeah, but if you remember your question later, Steve, we should address how to create team results from RaceHQ.
Okay, well, let's throw on the list.
Team results. Okay, so we've set up some events. We've gone through recording forms. We've done a little dummy data entry. Does that cover off these 2 first points for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I'm going to have to spend a bit more time looking at the event setup to get more familiar with the environment. I might, just spend it, whether it's with Ros or whoever else is involved, just to get my head around that. But I mean, it does look pretty self-explanatory, and I did get involved somewhat when I was trying to set up our recent Box Till Open Day.
Yeah.
I did find, Nick, and again, I don't know whether this is the right time to raise this, but I did find there was quite a bit of lag in the selection. So is that normal?
When you say the selection, which screen?
Well, for instance, when I selected an event to set up our Box Hill Open Day, in that case it was a cross-country event. My screen took a long time to update.
So when you, on this screen here, or when you're building out a program itself?
When I was building it out.
Yeah, so...
Was that in nominating athletes rather than actually creating the meet?
Could well be, right? But I just remember there was I had quite a challenge with, doing an activity or like clicking on an option, and then it would, take, I don't know, sometimes 10 or 15 seconds to update.
Was it this screen here you're looking at?
Yeah, this is when you're nominating
That's it.
athletes, is that right?
Yeah, so this can be quite laggy, this screen.
Yeah,
if you've got,
it probably was, Nick.
Yeah, especially if there's a whole chunk of athletes in there. That can get really heavy and hard. That's why instead of coming here, especially if you're just trying to pull across one athlete, then you can just use the athlete view, which is also down here.
Okay.
You can do the event registration and pull across athletes that way. But yeah, this screen here is going to get a bit of reloving. And
This is too much information. Is that the reason?
Yeah, so especially with a whole bunch of athletes doing a whole bunch of different events, it's got a lot of data it's got to build out, and depending on internet speed and server and so on, what's happening outside of your screen can really hurt this load time on this page.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely agree on that one.
Yeah, so when I was nominating athletes, I did it the way you suggested, Nick, via event register, and did it athlete by athlete.
Yeah, and that was
Yep.
much more responsive.
Yes, it was very quick.
Yeah. Bring them up. Once you've ticked on them, then tick away or untick depending on what you're trying to do there. So that's definitely the preferred way. And then that also lets you bring across athletes who aren't in your profile at this point in time. So kind of jumped ahead a little bit here to register athletes for events. So the idea behind this screen here is that if I've invited other centres, then they're all available from within this search field to then find them and bring them across.
It was obviously a rookie error on my part, but when I was I was talking to you, Nick, about bringing those athletes from other centres, into our meet, and eventually I found how to do that. I also came across quite a number of scenarios where their ID wouldn't display. So you put the ID in for that particular child, but it would say that they don't exist.
So if they weren't invited, then so this is to do with winters, I'm assuming.
Yeah, this was a winter scenario. So after we invited the centre,
yep,
and we would, I was trying to nominate some kids in, and effectively doing it manually. There was troubleshooting with some of them that for whatever reason weren't in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I came across a problem whereby I'd put the ID in, and you know how it populates. By the time you've keyed in a couple of numbers, it'll throw up 2 or 3 kids. But I was getting 0. Put the number in and nothing would show.
And then if you put the name in, did you get any show?
No, they just didn't exist.
Yeah.
But it wasn't all. It was just some, and I didn't have time to work out why. But maybe some was suggesting that it was possible that these kids had only recently registered as part of cross-country season.
Correct.
So they hadn't been in the system.
That's it. So if it can't find them, it either means that centre hasn't been invited as yet, or they've been invited, but those kids have registered in whichever profile they were supposed to register in, but they haven't done a sync from SportsTG to that profile for you to then to be able to find them.
So how would you get around that now?
Would have to, if you know that it's from Centre A, then you'd contact Centre A and say, hey guys, I understand you've got some new athletes. Can you perform an IMG import?
Okay.
That's the challenge, I guess, with using 2 different platforms, as in using SportsTG and then using us, versus in WA, it's all one and the same. So if they register, well, then they're in the system. So there's no kind of lag or relying on people to do extra steps at that point.
Well, I know all about that. I mean, and combined with the fact that we're doing it at the 11th hour didn't help. But to hear more about how we use the one system going forward, because when talking with Kim, I was getting mixed messages between the use of SportsTG and of course talking to you about the potential of people just nominating directly into the system.
Mm-hmm.
And I was left bemused as to why we've got this need with 2 systems that are seemingly.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to. Our plan is obviously we're across Australia for ResultsHQ, so pretty well every state's using us. So we're now just trying to roll out registrations across different states. So we've just picked up ACT recently. They've come off SportsTG to this and so on.
Obviously, there's a commercial interest in SportsTGs. I mean, I can get that there's probably some contract in place.
Yep.
But when we run, and again, just tell me if this is not the right time to pursue this, but when we're running our own events, like we did with the Box Hill Open Day,
mm-hmm.
I mean, going forward, and certainly based on our last experience, we would just opt to nominate people straight into timing solutions.
Yeah, so that would be the simplest way. There is some contractuals if there's going to be money involved in Victoria that IMG is the gateway to allow that to happen. But if your event is off radar as far as that's concerned, then yeah, you can let the families nominate in.
Okay, well maybe that's the issue because we charged an entrance fee.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be my question because we do charge a fee, and so I didn't think that Results HQ would allow that.
No, we're all set up for fees. There's all sorts of things in there if you wanted to do that path.
All right.
Really, it's a contractual restriction. Is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Yeah, I would just clear it with Kim before you go down that path in case it kind of causes some issues somewhere. But as far as functionality, yes, because that's what other states do. So we're totally ready and set up for that. So that would also then send them out an email invite and so on, inviting them across, and based on whatever caps or performance levels you want to set. So you can only be nominating into this if you are better than the minimum performance level that's set and so on.
So in practicality, that's an email that goes to the individual athlete's family.
Yep.
And obviously promotes the event and then invites them to register.
Yeah, so in their family area, next time they log in their notifications banner here, it'd say you've been invited to Box Hill Open Day or whatever you want to call it. Then they'd click on that, and then they'd be able to then see that Tommy's is eligible to nominate to high jump, long jump, and 100. Bill's able to nominate for whatever other events and so on, and then they'll tick the ones they want to tick, and if there is a fee applied, well then they got to put in the relevant details to confirm the payment, and then they're nominated and they're paid, and then they get a receipt, and then your recording sheets are just getting built up with nominations that have come through from everyone nominating and paying, and then you run your day. And
that's a lot cleaner. Ros, just with our Box Hill Relay Day, now kids don't nominate for that, but centres do.
Yep.
Can you see this working in that scenario?
Well, only if you can send those nominations to the centre.
Yep.
And then the centre nominate. Is that how it would work?
You've got two options with an invite. You can just make it centre only sees this. Otherwise, what they tend to do is they'll make families also see it and get known about it, but their access to edit and pay and whatever is cut off earlier than what the centre is. So all the heavy lifting is done by the athletes and the families. They then get locked out. The centres then get their fine-tooth comb out and tweak and adjust based on what they deem is a better makeup for that event. And then the inviting centre then shuts off anyone else from doing any nominations, and then they go about setting up for their event.
Okay, so this sort of two-stage process, we could, if we invite all the families, then they can let us know, like an expression of interest, that their child is interested in participating in relays, and then the centres would then, so after the cut-off date, then the centres would then form teams based on their own criteria.
Yeah, if you want to do that, for sure.
Would the centre in, let's say, Doncaster, would Doncaster get notified of the 120 families that have said they're interested who happen to be Doncaster members?
So the email process, so when we submit this, the Doncaster would first of all get an email saying, hey, Box Hill Open Day, or whatever the event's called, is trying to inform all your athletes of this event. Do you want this to happen to start with? If they said yes, then the families would now know about it once they've approved that email going out to all their members. So that they'll already know about that from the beginning. Then as nominations are coming in, they would be able to go to their nomination report and see who's nominating into which events.
Wow.
That then lets them tweak and edit particularly once the family nomination area is shut off at whatever date and time that wants to be shut down. they then have the final say on what's happening, and then you guys or whoever's managing the head profile then confirms that's all good and then prints off recording sheets and off you go.
Gee, that's interesting.
Incorporate, hypothetically we can incorporate fees into that structure as well then.
That's right.
For the teams submitted by the centres.
This fee here is more to do with the athletes paying versus the centre paying. So you're probably best to bypass fees on this page and work that one out separately if that was going to be the case.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'd be issuing refunds to people that weren't accepted into that team if it was just an expression of interest scenario.
Okay. Oh, well, look, we'll take that offline and talk more about that, because there might be some useful tools there to just help the whole process of centres nominating for relay day,
Mm-hmm.
and if they're happy for us to send a communication directly to their families, the benefit for them is that they get a nice sort of condensed, clean working list of interested parties that they can then send to their relay managers.
Yep. And it will then have all their PBs and all that relevant information too, so it makes it easier in that regard.
Okay.
Okay, so timing gates was the next official topic. Did you want to talk about that or stay in?
Yeah, let's do that, because that's certainly an area that Cameron will be familiar with.
Okay, so I'm just plugging my timing hub in. Just open up my timing software. So Cameron, this is more your department now, your area.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
So
what's your main thought or issue or concern or interest in chat?
I guess it's personally, it's just a matter of is there a distinct or a preferred sequence that that needs to be adhered to in terms of setting up the gates. I've only really been shown a couple of times,
Okay.
and it's just really not fumbling. It's certainly, and it's been a while since I've done it now. It's been 6 months or something, so it's a little bit, it's not so fresh on the mind. But
that's fair enough.
Certainly, just in terms of what the process should be, it's certainly if there are issues with gates not registering or just going through the process, I guess.
And are you guys running multiple systems there, as in a front straight and a back straight, that sort of thing?
Yeah, different gates. So Nick.
Yep. So
different software, but we will be, whether it's this year or next year, we will be buying another set of these gates, so we'll be running the same system. But at the moment and Cameron can talk more specifically about this, but we've got an old legacy system on the back straight.
Oh, that's the hinge one, is that right? Or the T-bars?
I'm not sure. What do you mean by hinge?
Like it's got a hinge that swings out from one gate to the next, or is it the T-bar one where it's an aluminium T and you connect that to?
Yeah, it's the aluminium T-bar, I think.
Yeah, cool. That's our first ever gate system. Nice one. Okay, so when it comes to the wireless gates, this is the default for what you'd be looking at, which is sprints, versus if you're doing pack or other things, but for delays, mostly just these two here. If I want to have some big indicators on the screen, these big circles over here won't mean much until I start turning on my gates. Otherwise, I can just hide that. I can turn that off. So here it's saying connect unit on the inside of lane 1. So all my bases for my gates are all pointing the same direction. There's an arrow on each of those round bases. And that's what this screen's trying to show us here, with a round base with an arrow on it. So we want all the bases pointing from one side of the track to the other.
Yep.
And that direction of that arrow the only kind of important thing for the day is obviously making sure those arrows are all pointing the same way, but which side is the sunniest side of the track. So hence on this imagery here, we've got a sun over here and it's saying base arrows point to sunniest side.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just making sure the reality of the software is matching the reality of the hardware. And the reason that we have the arrows facing the sunniest side of the track is because the gates aren't mechanically joined together like the T-bar system. If we go to a grass track, the ground obviously is determined by what surface is like. So tufts of grass and divots and bumps and so on. So we had to allow the gates to have a wide view angle to allow them to be able to see their brother across the way, even if they're on a bit of a funky angle. So that lets more light in, which also means it lets more sunlight in. So you can't have the gates with the eyes, which is on the opposite side to the arrows on the bases. So one side of the gate sends and the other side of the same gate receives, so the eyes. So you don't want the eyes looking into the sun, because otherwise then they squint really hard like you would if you're looking at the sun, and it can't see things and it starts getting painful.
Okay.
So that's the background behind why all your arrows point to the sunniest side of the track. So once you've figured out where the sun is on your location, obviously it depends if you're a morning track versus an afternoon, or if you switch from mornings to afternoons, that will change each time. So I'm just going to turn on the inside of lane 1 right now. I'm not sure if you can hear any of those noises through my earphones. So just turn on a gate. It made a beep. I released my finger. It then made a second beep, and that's around when this tick appeared on the screen. And if I put the mouse over this gate, it's telling me the firmware, the reception, and the battery levels, and that it's connected. So it's a two-way communication between the hardware and the software on the screen. So I'll just go and turn my next gate on, the one that it's saying connect the gate on the outside of lane 1, the one with the bouncing arrow. So again, I pressed it once, it then did a second beep as it connected up. Now I've got 4 green bars on the screen, and as I walk through there, they go red, which is what I'm expecting. And if I cover my top beam and work my way down, so basically it's just a little health check. I want to see greens. Green ticks, green bars means I'm happy. Things are seeing what they're supposed
I
to
don't
do.
recall seeing the green and the red on ours, Cameron. Do you?
Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah, it looks familiar.
Okay.
Because there was an earlier version of software which was laid out a bit different, so that may be what you're used to seeing.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is the newer one, which is a bit more pictorial to try and need less words and more pictures to try and describe what's happening, or at least give a message.
Yep, sounds like a good idea.
So then I'm now going to turn on where the last one is, the last bouncing arrow. So I've only got 3 gates set up here. I've now got options on again. So one beep as I press to start it up, I release my finger, second beep as it connects, and then third beep as I walk through. So particularly if you've got a wide track and you can't have the laptop walking around with you because it's over there on the table connected to printers and whatever else, then that's where the 3 beep rule that I've just described is a good way of knowing that things are okay without me having to look at the laptop every time I turn a new gate on.
Okay.
As well as turning this on, if I spin the laptop around to look across the track and it's not too sunny, I may be able to start to see the big dots on the side as well. So if I
Where was that hiding? Sorry.
that was here, I had this little tick box here.
Okay.
Tick that back on, and it just mirrors what these 4 bars do here. But if I couldn't see my laptop, it's too sunny, too far away, then 1 beep to turn on, second beep to connect, third beep as I walk through that gate. And then I just repeat that down the way. So take your time when you're turning them on. Don't rush them. If you run down the lineup just turning gates on quickly and not waiting for those second beeps, then you could start turning gates on in the wrong order as far as you've physically powered them on in the correct order, but if you've raced down the lineup or people are helping you out, trying to help you out at least, just turning gates on in whatever order they get to them, then it will start setting up the sequence of gates in the wrong order, and then you'll have a lot of...
Yeah, no, we normally just cycle through them slowly.
Yeah,
Making chain is active before progressing to the next one.
good work. That's good.
I think quite often we have like circular events that are running around. So we'll have lanes 1 and 2 that are inactive. There was some, I think, changes last season regarding do we keep the gates switched on, or do we turn them off? Do we set them up and then just remove them and then switch them off on the screen? Again, it's been a couple of months. I can't really remember.
That's all right.
But yeah, so that's probably the only or one of the alternatives that we have on an event day.
Yeah. So would that, if you're going to run 8s or 15s, then that would just be for an hour or so, and then you'd want to utilize all your front straight again once those events were over, that sort of thing?
Or we just we'll have them running at the same time, to be honest.
Yeah.
We usually set it up with lane 1 and 2 dedicated to circulars
For the whole day?
and then we run lane 1 for sprints from lane 3 onwards.
And that'll be for the whole day?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, in that scenario, so if I just reset my gates, yes, I'm now saying I've got 2 lanes, but I'm starting from lane 3.
Okay, yeah.
So now I don't have a couple gates that are just burning juice sitting on the sideline when I don't need them to.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, that makes a lot more sense because I think we were setting them all up and then removing them.
Yeah. Well, you can do that, but that's more under the assumption that, all right, I've got half an hour of 800s, then I'm going to get back into my full 10 lanes of 100s and 200s, and then I'll switch to 1500s later on, so I'll turn off 1 and 2 again. So if you're mixing and matching, then it's a good way to do it, what you have been doing. But if you're going to dedicate all day long to only have 1 and 2 for pack stuff, then you might as well do it this way.
Okay. So just to Cameron's point, if you did want to go with that last scenario, in other words, you just want to remove them for half an hour or so.
Yep.
What's the protocol for removing them and storing them for that period?
Good question. So I'll do some now. 2 lanes we need. So I'll turn these back on, or reconnect them at least. Because they're already on, I don't have to press and hold. I just give them a quick dab in case that's not familiar. So to turn a gate on, you've got to press and hold till you hear a beep. But obviously if the gate's already on, I don't have to turn it on. So instead of pressing and holding, you just give it a dab just to get it to check in. So I'm just pressing it quickly, and that's what's happening right now. Okay, so they're reconnected. We'll now go race on. I turned on the start device just before when we're chatting, so that's down the bottom here. So go race, the next step. I'll make this full size screen. Okay, so now we're about to remove lane 1 because 800s are happening, and we're going to leave lane 2 for 100 meters, that sort of scenario. So I untick lane 1. Now that that's unticked, it's basically just going to ignore anything that comes out of lane 1. But I don't want to physically turn off lane 1, as in power the physical gate down, but I do want to remove it from the track so that no one runs into it. In theory, this would be, say, the one between lane 1 and 2. So I'd put it aside, off the side of the track, but I don't want to get it mixed up with the one that's on the inside of the track already, because obviously I want to keep my gates in the correct order or sequence than what I turned them on. So now I'm running some races with just my lane 2. Lane 1, is still powered up. It's sitting on the sideline though, leaving a space there for people to come through. Meanwhile, my sprint's happening in lane 2. Finish with that race. Save or delete. I'll just delete it. We've finished with the 800s now, and we're getting ready to run full set of gates again for sprints. So I'll put it back on the track in the right direction and in the right position. Turn it back on. It's then going to have a little think, and down the bottom here it's saying gates aren't ready yet, please wait. And now that's come up and that's happy. I'll use the start device this time. You'll notice up the top, because I did an electronic start device, I've got an E in a bracket, meaning electronic, versus if I did a manual with the control key or pressing start on the screen, it would come up with an M.
Okay.
There's some times for both those lanes. And you're familiar with the dragging and dropping with times, if I've got multiple times like here? Do you guys have much to do with that?
Cameron might be.
Are you familiar with that, Cameron? Maybe not. So I'll enlighten you. So if you see an asterisk on a lane, that's telling me that there's something else to kind of go and investigate. So just by putting my mouse on top, I then see that there's 2 times because I swung my arm through the gate and I swung it back through. So I've got time.
Okay.
Scenarios for that are a parent is trying to motivate a child and steps through the gate to cheer them on, and then the kid comes running through. Or kids are running across the track to get to shot put and everyone's yelling, don't run through the gates, but they run through the gates.
That never happens.
Never. Or a classic, here's little Johnny's following little Tommy, his best friend. They've come around the 200 bend and he's gotten confused, so thought he'd just follow his friend home. So there's 2 times in lane 1, which would also mean I'm just going to get rid of some time. So by clicking on one, I'm putting it in the bin. I've only got 1 time now. So that other scenario is where little Johnny followed Timmy home. So I've got 2 times in lane 1, but I don't have any times in lane 2.
Okay.
My place judges said, kid in the blue shirt, he's in lane 2, and he came second. So I grabbed second time in lane 1 and put it in lane 2. We've now got first and second, and the kids are physically lined up in the correct order for their lane. Then I can start typing in some names, find the right kid, or key in a number. And now we've got those kids in their lane.
Okay. Oh, that's good.
Yep. That makes sense.
If I select an event, then I need to do that before I save. Some people have these other bits turned on, but by default, if I come up here to settings, in general, I turn all the heat and division. I had that on for a school carnival recently, so I'll leave that off. So now all I've got is just choose my event and off I go. You may be aware that you can run overlapping races. So if I hit the start button again on my start device, I can start a second race while we're still finishing off this first race, those sorts of things.
Yeah, I did see that on one of your other recorded webinars, which I think it was a really handy feature. I'm not sure whether we utilise it. We tend to run the 2 computers, one for circular and one for the sprints, but it may be something we can use.
Yeah. So right now I've just started the background race. So particularly if you've got 200s or any of those longer events where you've got downtime just because the kids have so much further to travel, and even more so if it's a pack race like a 1500 metre, the next pack's waiting and ready to go. You've got at least 4 laps to catch up with the guys who are walking up the home straight. You might as well let the 1500 start. Tommy and Bill that are walking up the home straight having a chat, they'll take shorter than 3 minutes or 4 minutes to get home. So might as well just get this race started and get a bit of a head start on where we would have been if we had waited for them to finish.
So could we use this, Ros? I'm just thinking about the way in which we manage the walks, and particularly the 11s and the 1500s, and the challenge we have with running an event, a 1500 event with maybe 3 kids and having to wait till the thing finishes, and then running another event, which has got more kids and shorter distance. Is this a scenario whereby that feature would be useful?
Yes, sorry, I wasn't sure if Cameron was speaking or not.
I was trying to, but I keep muting myself, so apologies. Yeah, definitely. It would just be a matter of, I guess, getting used to having the two, but certainly, getting the runners back to the gate and scanning everyone in, and then having another 1500, going at the same time, certainly, rather than having to wait that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we, group will have quite large groups of runners in a 1500 or something, different age groups and whatever. It can be quite a bit of a process to get all the kids through and scanned.
I mean, it doesn't solve the issue of having to watch the kids on the track to make sure that we're keeping a track of who's done what laps. But assuming we had enough sort of observers in place, we could potentially run the 15 and 1100 at the same time, avoiding the chaos that we had when we tried to do it at the beginning of the season.
Yep.
We've got a solution for that idea too. So School Carnival, we ran one recently where we gave this new function a bit of a test run. They've got a 300 metre track, so obviously that compounds the number of laps you've got to do for a 1500 metre, and then they've got around 35 kids running in a race, from some real fast ones to some that just want to hang out and have a chat. So it was quite hard last year trying to keep track of lap counts. So for that particular event, we fired up the RFID and had that sitting on the sideline. But they had 1,200 kids at the carnival, and obviously we didn't want to have to allocate each child a tag. So we just ran a bucket of 85 RFID tags on an ankle strap. And for race A or race 2, Johnny had tag 27, Billy had tag 39, and Jill had tag 10. And then 2 races time, those same tags are on different athletes. So then that gives you your lap count, your lap splits, and then your final time as they come through.
So is this is the same sort of technology that you'd find, on 5 kilometre interval splits on a marathon?
That's the same thing, yeah. So here athlete 2 has just done 3 laps, lap 1, 2, 3. Took him 4 seconds for the first lap, 1.7 seconds, and then 0.8 seconds. Their overall race time is here, and so far they're leading the pack.
Allocate the wristband number to the athlete. Where does that match-up occur?
That happens... Where did I put that? In this one. So that's on a Windows app that's going to become an Android app as well. So in here, I would select my relevant, this is an old one. Basically, I'll find the right one if you like, but you've got a column for tag numbers and a column for you to then key in the athlete number. So it's a start line process. So before these 20 kids hit the start line, I've keyed in the tag I'm giving them against the number that's on their chest. Or
Can we scan them?
Yeah, if your laptop lets you scan, then scan away.
So if we've got them lined up in their number order, we're just going along from field to field and scanning the athlete code.
That's it. Tag 27 goes to athlete 55926. And that's returned a positive ID of Millie May, 11 female.
Well, that's interesting. So this is obviously another what do you call it? Another application or another device that's required, because there's some sort of reader at the start-finish line.
So the finish line, which is running the RFID here, that would need an integrated reader, is what we'd normally recommend for that. And so
Yeah.
that's 1,500 for that one bit of hardware, but then obviously that will last as long as you look after it. So a little bit of a cost up front, and then your tags, they work out around, including an ankle strap, around $6 a tag, and again, they should last quite a few seasons. So just figure out if you wanted to have a rotation of 2 or 3 quantities of X, whatever X is, and see how many tags you'd need. But that carnival we're running, we had 85 tags in a bucket, and that did as well for those events and that amount of people.
Okay, so you might, I mean, centre like ours might be looking at, $500 worth of tags and a 1,500 outlay for the reader.
If you wanted to get that many tags, yeah.
Okay.
Just food. For
what are your thoughts about that, Ros and Cam? Do you think that would have application for us?
I can only really imagine us, running the walks, different distance walks at the same time. I can't imagine what else we would do.
No, we're not running 10,000.
Yeah, so, it'd be only really your 1,100 walk and your 1,500 walk, and we'd have a maximum field of 30 anyway, because we've got to, judge them. But, and, if there's only a handful of 1,500 metre walkers, they just wear bibs.
True, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
It's something that it might become more applicable if we do decide to 11s and 15s at the same time, and our numbers are such that it warrants that investment. But it's good to know. It's really good to know.
Yeah, cool. Particularly on that 300 metre track was where it was really painful trying to keep track of that count.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because we even heard at one of the state events that they did a 1,900 metre, 1,500 metre race. I was like, what? How does that happen at one of those events? But, okay, so does that cover off all the basics at least for the timing side of things?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
So just actually one tip I'll hand over. Sometimes when you come to this screen, it doesn't always happen, but you may get a red cross, yellow, with a red cross in it. And what I've heard is that some people freak out and think they have to turn everything off and start again, which is a pity that's their gut feel. But obviously we need to make it more robust so it doesn't do that. But the quick fix is just untick and tick back on. So if you ever see something funky happening with the gates,
yeah,
and it's saying out of alignment, and you're looking at them on your tartan track going, how can they be out of alignment? Obviously check that you haven't got the arrows in the wrong direction and it's looking at the sun. But then the quick fix is untick lane 1, tick it back on. That basically just forces the gates to rethink what is alignment relative to the gate next to it and sort itself out. Now, if it doesn't fix it the first time, we had a little flash of it there, hit it again until you get it sorted out. But normally once you've done that, then it's bedded in and you shouldn't have issues after that. It's normally when you first come from setup into race that you'll have that sort of moment where you need to do that.
Yeah, I remember it happening sort of between races last year where, one particular lane, a lane would go red, but then I don't know, it would just start again. Oh, okay. Red's off? Or?
Red means so the gates, they save power by leaving everything on apart from the communication chip, because it's the thing that uses the most power. So the software tells the gate, thanks for whatever it is you've just told me, go back to sleep, and the gate goes back to sleep for 10 seconds and wakes up if it hasn't got a trigger in the meantime.
Right, okay.
But sometimes it forgets that it's told that gate to go to sleep and then starts trying to ask it a string of questions and then starts thinking that it's taken too long and maybe this gate is dead, so it makes it red and alerts you to it on the screen. And the longest you would normally see that would be around 10 seconds because that's the default time for that gate to wake up. Otherwise, as an athlete runs through that lane, that forces a comms stick to wake up and check in, and then it would go green again and it'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, yep.
Yeah. So we're working on just trying to figure out what's that particular sequence when it goes red when it shouldn't, because it's actually still awake, that gate.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Cool. So that's timing side of things done for now.
Excellent. Thank you.
What else we got here? Reporting, team results, and so on. So back into Webland. So pretty well most of your reporting in theory will come out of reports, report builder, unless it's at the end of season when you're doing the leaderboard to see who your champions are for points and so on. Is that where you spend, do you spend much time doing reports, Rosalind, or are you not so much in that area?
Yeah, I do. I spend a lot of time in reports.
All right. So these your two main buttons, or mostly report builder?
Yep, report builder, leaderboard, and then just season best certificates at the end of the season.
Okay. So any thoughts, feedbacks, questions regarding this area?
No, I think I understand it. Like, I mean, obviously I've got a set up system or a, results point system or whatever.
Yep.
I have found though that for some reason, I don't know why, I can't produce results and attendance reports together. I don't know whether that's a bug on my end.
As in you tick them both?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bit of a legacy that they should be radio buttons, as in only allowing you to click one. There used to be a function in there that would add tabs to the Excel, but then when we did a few tweaks, that didn't remain a function that was viable. So just untick one and tick the other one on if you want to do two different reports.
I wanted to do them together because I used to be able to do them together in the past. Yeah, so that explains it.
Yeah, as in one tab for results and one tab for attendance. Is that what you mean by together?
I think, I don't know, maybe I thought that I could produce attendance and results in the one spreadsheet. And I don't know if they were separate tabs or just in the same thing, but...
Yeah, so anyways, so that's, yeah, if you want to do a report, just have the one on and then focus on that one. And then if you need it.
Yeah, it's just handy because at the end of the season, like, we have a minimum attendance criteria.
Yep.
So it would just help me to filter out award recipients if I knew that they'd met the attendance criteria first and then look at their points. But because I can't produce those results and attendance in the same report, I've sort of got to manually...
Did you see these parts for the criteria that I think you're describing, with meet percentage and event percentage and the number of events itself? Does that help to alleviate that?
Yes and no, because we also added in events where like we manually entered region results and whatnot, and depending on the criteria whether they included or weren't included in attendance, that sort of stuff. So it was a bit messy, but anyway.
Okay. Yeah, well, let us know if there's any improvements then. So by having that one report, what would you expect to see if I was in here and I did a result and attendance? You'd see one, I'll just export this one out. You'd expect to see on here another column that said attendance count or percent, or what would you expect?
Yeah, attendance count or yep. And I'd have it against the results, and then I could just manipulate that spreadsheet to produce some results.
To do some pivots or something in there.
Yep.
Just exporting out. So I know in the fall season, it's got more information than just what these columns are showing. See what that spits out. So for those that aren't familiar with this screen, you've got your sticky buttons again, so multiple select if you like. Refine your members. I was trying to do that, so it's probably not going to do anything. but that's where you refine your members and bring up all the relevant members, which you could then individually select if you wanted to, or just leave it as all. And then you've got same for your dates. You can hit refine events, and they'll bring up all the events in here, which you can then select individual events if you wanted to or not. And then choose the best number of results / points. How do you want it grouped? And then, do you guys run draft results, or do you have a need to run draft events or results for what you're doing there?
No, I don't think so. I don't know exactly what that means.
So normally for a bigger event, all the results may not be published, or they are published, but they've got a stamp, kind of like a watermark, saying that these are draft. They're not official yet. We're still waiting for the dispute period to pass.
Oh, okay, right.
Sort of
No,
thing.
we don't use that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So that's what that's about, if you're wondering. Then obviously you've got all your export or print or do those sorts of things. This is still chugging away trying to get a massive amount of data out from all our junk that I put in there.
Yeah, so for what I need, I just usually produce reports on results, attendance, and PB counts.
Cool.
Because that's the basis of our awards system.
Yep.
I'll produce the leaderboard because it's only the top 2 results that matter.
Mm-hmm.
2 best results, yeah.
Yep. Okay. What about you, gents? Any questions around this screen?
No, not really. I've not used it ever,
Mm-hmm.
and this is really the domain of Ros.
Yep.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. Did you have any other questions or concerns, Ros, about reporting?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Understanding the integration with Sports TG. So it sounds like you're pretty bit of a veteran at that area too, Ros. Would that be right in saying so? You're comfortable with all the different elements that go into allowing an athlete to come across to ResultsHQ?
I wouldn't say I'm a veteran. I think I've just learnt over the last season what I need to do.
Okay. So as long as they're active and financial, then they'll be able to come across.
Yeah, so really that's just, Ros, what you were saying, that's just the press of a button really, isn't it?
Yeah, essentially, before each meet, I will IMG import any new registrations, and then Karen prints off the event recording sheets before each meet.
Okay.
The other thing I've sort of learnt during the season was, you get athletes that notify us, they've cancelled their registration or they just no longer attend for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just sort of make them inactive in the system in ResultsHQ so that they don't get printed in the recording sheet.
Yeah, good work.
Or show. Yeah.
Now, actually, on that point, well, obviously, here's your last results that's in the system, the 10th of March. At some point soon, you guys are going to want to roll your season over.
Yep.
And clean the slate. Are you familiar with the rollover process, Ros?
No, never done it before, but I was going to learn somehow.
Okay. So put this little banner for anyone that's jumping in and coming out of hibernation, looking to kind of get ready for summer. So there's a help topic about it, but basically you'd come to more season rollover. Here's all your prior seasons so far. Wow, 2011. Huh, time's flying. And you'd go through the process. So the first step is to suspend all your members. Are you aware that if you're on a page and there's a green question mark, if you click on that, it opens up the help topic to the particular page that you're on, or hopefully that's what it opens up. Yep. And then obviously you've got the support tab down the bottom here. Let's see what this big beast has in there while I'm seeing it there. This was that full season export. Okay, result, event position is heat, rounded. No, there's no event count or anything useful in there based on the attendance requirement you had there.
Yeah, so it'd just be ideal if there was an extra column about attendance count.
So that'd be, today was 3 of 5 events in total, or they did, how would you expect that to look as a line item against the result?
Well, if it's an event, so if it's a
Year to date?
count, I should be saying meet count. It's a meet count because they've attended that meet, regardless how many events they've done.
So it'd be
But yeah, also I guess I don't really use event count.
okay, so it'd be
much.
meet count year to date. So we're up to week 12, and their percentage for this week and prior weeks inclusive is at 85%.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So the season rollover process is basically following these steps in this help topic. We do the suspend members. We put the word suspend in capitals. It's got to be in capitals. That then asks us to then archive our results. So as you've just seen before, nothing gets deleted. It's just packed up and put away. Then we're archiving our results. That's the next step there. That then sends you an email because it can take a while. So you get an email saying, hey, this is finished. One of the last steps there is your users, to make sure that all your users that you've got set up are supposed to be there for next season, that there's no legacy users hanging around because nobody remembered to remove them. And then
we've probably got quite a few of those, I mentioned, have we, Roz?
Let's have a look.
Probably. I've never had a look at the users.
So here's your user list.
Yes, we do.
So some of those, so Alan, that's a familiar name. Kent, oh yeah.
Yes, there's some have left the community.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Kent from Nunawading, but yeah, that's a different Kent than Kent Barnes. I remember him. So yeah, that's a part of the season rollover process. Just do a spring clean, make sure you're happy with everyone that does have access to remain having access. And then the final step is just to update the season, so it bounces from 2016 to 2017 and so on, then you're done. So it's a pretty simple process. Probably take, depending on how long the archives take, that would be the longest part. So maybe the whole thing will take you 10, 15 minutes to do. But most of that would be just waiting for an email to come in to say that it's finished.
Yeah, seems straightforward.
Cool.
Hey, Roz, when do you know when registrations are opening?
Usually the 1st of August. Sometime next week.
Yeah, because we had to hand our template in by the 4th, I think.
Yeah, so it'll be next week then, once Kim set up the system.
Okay.
Cool. So we've gone through ResultsHQ. We've had a look at, I'm assuming this is what we covered off earlier when we're looking at inviting and so on.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Had a chat about mobile devices. Sounds like somebody, I forgot who was having a look at that just before.
Wayne was keen to look at that for our field events.
Yep.
I've been watching, I was a part of the group that was doing some testing, although we didn't do any testing, but I was just monitoring a lot of the feedback.
Is that that testing?
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right, last season.
Yeah, that's the old app. So the background on that app versus where we're up to now, we couldn't do our own apps in-house back then. So we found this motivated Dutch backpacker who, that's his job, is an Android app developer. And so we went down that path. And long story short is we threw away a fair bit of money and had to start again. But luckily, at that point in time, our own developer, his platform that he writes all his code on, had a big upgrade, which allowed him to compile not just for Windows, but to compile for iOS and Android.
Okay.
The best part is now he's been with us since day dot, so he fully understands what all these apps are trying to do and what they should be doing. And he's a good coder, so he can write one bit of code and compile for Android, for iOS, as well as for Windows now. So we can do all our own apps in-house.
Okay.
So if you jump in and check it out, the app, will be much different to what you had used previously as far as performance and robust and bugs and whatever. Similar concept, but yeah, much.
So you're saying that we can now use the iPad
Yes.
to run the event?
Yeah, your field events can be
Yeah.
done on phone or iPad. And so that's a free app as long as you've got a super user or you set up a mobile user, then you'll be able to run that in parallel with some paper for a while if you like, and then see where you want to go from there.
Okay. Where do we get the app from?
So that's in whichever store you go to get your bits.
Oh, so yeah. Okay, no worries. I'll have a look at that.
So there's a help topic with a little video on it. It's one of the earlier videos. I need to do a new one with the latest versions of things.
I'm assuming it's called Timing Solutions?
Search CompetitionHQ, one word.
Okay.
And that should let you do some cool stuff on there. So the bigger picture of that app will also act as a bit of a roll call for the morning. So do you have age managers or event managers?
Yeah, we have age group managers.
Cool. So as in, I would be looking after 6 male.
That's right.
So I would do a little roll call in the morning. Once I've done my roll call, that then helps the rest of my events for the day know who's actually here. So it removes those that aren't physically there for the day, but I can then swipe them back in if they happen to turn up late because of traffic or whatever reasons they were late. But then it also means that if I'm running my track events, and currently you're processing everyone at the finish line for your track events, is that right?
Yes.
So we're going back to that app that I was describing earlier with the RFID scenario.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the 6 male age manager. I've done my roll call. We're now getting ready for hundreds. And instead of having 34 kids with me, I've only got 18 today. I go and push those 18 over to the finish line, to the start line. The air traffic controller sitting there with his or her laptop or tablet, sees the 6 males are available, slides them into view, and it breaks them out into however many lanes required to fill up my 18 kids based on whatever's running on the day. Finish, and then race by race slides them into the queue. So in theory I had, say, 20 lanes running, so I had 18 kids, so I've got 2 races set up, and I've called the kids into their lane. Instead of keying or scanning their names, I'm calling them into what the app's told me that they should be running in, which can either be by random or PB, or I can slide things around if I want to. It means then at the finish line, they just see some names appear on the screen. Kids run through the gates, they press save. Meanwhile, then the next lot of names appear on the screen. The gun starts, kids run through the gates, they press save, and so on. So that's where that's heading.
Well, that's interesting. So effectively that, in time, will eliminate the scanning process.
That's it. So currently you can do start line already, but normally that involves scanning in a kid into a lane.
Yeah.
Which you can still do with that app I described, but what we're trying to do is just remove the need for keying or scanning, and instead just call the kids into the lane that the computer's told them to be in.
Have you got any centres testing that at the moment?
We'll be running it again this Thursday at a school carnival, but that's something where we're going to release soon. It's available if you wanted to have a play around with it and give us some feedback. But there'll be something out there and available for anyone that wants to give it a go.
I imagine the sticky point, or not the sticky point, but the challenging point is at the start line, making sure that little Johnny, who's been allocated 6, actually runs in 6.
Yes, that's it. So the little kids are always a challenge, even if it's always, especially on a 200 bend where they lose track of which lane they're in. So that's always going to be a mission in that regard. But for any of the other age groups, or if it's a straight track, then it's a bit easier.
Okay. Well, I like, just going back to where you started on this, I like that roll call idea. I mean, that's a potential bonus in, a parent who has the app can access their age group, can see who's available. can update the system, does that save you any time, Roz, in terms of data entry? I guess it doesn't, does it?
No, not really. I mean, we do have some, paper attendance lists, but I don't really do anything with them because once you enter results, you know who's attended anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, if they're going to do
It might help us with our under sixes though, because they're not.
Yeah, they don't do events. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
And in theory, if they're going to go to the end of a roll call, they might as well key the data in. So that's just saved all the data entry as well. But that's up to you guys to decide on that one.
Yep. So what about when you've got common tries and visitors? So they wouldn't be on the system.
Correct. So what do you guys normally do with those sorts of athletes?
We just record, for field events, we just record them and don't enter them, obviously. For track events, they just come up as a visitor.
Yeah. So that's what that's what pretty well most centres go with. It's either a high five or a pat on the back or something. Is that right? Well, we'll spend the effort recording your data properly when you want to pay the money and become a part of our centre. In the meantime, enjoy the atmosphere and have a great day. So that's where that app's headed as well. It's like we're not going to try and allow free text entry of someone that may or may not become a member and then trying to get somebody to match that up on an app. Be a bit painful post-event.
Yeah, fair enough.
If you do set up an app user, there's already one here, beta test by the looks of it. Then you can configure it to just be focused on a particular age, gender. So someone set this up to do absolutely everything by the looks of it. But you could have a 6 male profile, which means when I log into the app, I'll only see the 6 male events, nothing else.
I see. Yeah, I think a couple of years back it was testing. I think at that time it was just the Android tablet.
Yep.
For our javelin and might have been one or two others.
Yeah. At
that stage, but they just felt that it wasn't at a stage at that time where it was user proof.
Yeah, for sure.
But I imagine it's improved considerably since then.
Yeah, have a play and see where you want to go with that one.
Okay, thank you.
Use other useful features.
We can probably brush over that given the time, I reckon, Nick. With the team result, did we cover that off? We're still a bit to unpack on that one.
Yeah, so there's a whole teams function.
Yeah, that was in relation to. Yeah. Oh well, actually, that was in relation to team results for cross country.
Okay. So in the timing software, it's got cross country points built into it.
No.
I'll just start that back up again. So the teams points, at least the standard teams points for XC, assuming you're running the same, is first place is 1 point, second place is 2 points. Teams can be made up of X number of athletes, so 3 for this day, and the best 3 for a particular club will then be added together, and the person or the team with the lowest points wins the day. Is that what you're running there?
Yep, generally, yep.
So when you so you've just run a bunch of cross countries, and if we go to saved events, just come down, saved events. In here, when I go to a particular age, gender event, I've got this button here called points. Well, there's nothing there to show for it. I'll go to a prior date, see if there's anything usable. I just run a bunch of, what's in this one? See if that'll give me enough. All right. So here, this is where I tell it total teams. So are we allowed to have just one team or 3 teams, depending on what the criteria is? So we'll say 1 team maximum. Team size, 3 people or some other size. And then based on the teams being the club names that the athletes have against them, they will then get grouped up. So there's 3 from Team Demo, 3 from Team Box Hill, 3 from Knox, and so on. The best 3 will then be laid out across the screen here. And then down the side, I'll have my scoreboard based on those points. And then when I need to, I can export it. So you can run your whole XC points day by day, just straight out of the software. If you've got your printer hooked up, your thermal printer, it would then spit out your team points on that print off, and then your job's done.
Okay, so then in terms of setting up the like if we were to follow, region, state criteria, like it's a bit more complicated. It's not just, 3 runners in a team. Like I think something like if you've got more than 5 runners,
you get discounted with some of those, as in you get 100 points if they didn't make a full team.
No, not that. It's just like if you've got, 6 or more runners or something, like, they've got to get split up. So it's the first 3, but if you've only got to make up a team, that sort of stuff. So you can't sort of set that all up.
Because we built this off the requirement that, I forgot her name, Lemon, Nicole Lemon, who runs Meet Manager for those events, Nicole.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Sorry, Nicole Lopez. Or Lopes. So basically, we built that around what she had described to us as what the criteria was. So unless it's changed or we missed something in what she had described, but that was built to try and alleviate them needing to use Meet Manager for those events. So I'd be interested to get your
Okay, so it should. Yep. So, okay, so it should then work it out for us depending on the number of runners in a club.
Yes.
Per race. Yeah, okay.
So as long as there's at least 3 kids, the first 3 in this scenario would then be used as a team. If they had 5 athletes instead of 6, then the other 2 wouldn't be included for this scenario because they didn't make the criteria.
Oh no, the actual criteria is if there are less than 6, so you've got 5 and they all crossed cross the line before another team, the 5 would actually be the team, not 3. Do you know what I mean?
So a team of 5 were the first outright, for example, and nobody else had crossed the line.
Yeah, their points are still the lowest, say. It's a team of 5 would get a medal, not the team of 3. So it's different.
I've never heard of that one.
Okay. So we had to do that manually, I think, on the day, where if there were teams of 5 that still made it in terms of lowest points, we handed out extra medals, but that's okay.
Yeah, right.
So it looks like we still have to do that manually.
Yeah, never heard of that criteria. Interesting. So that's what that was about. So that's to do with the teams part, is that right? Team results?
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Anything else,
John? Oh, that's good. I mean, that sounds like something that we can potentially look to learn and utilise when cross-country season comes around.
And then you guys could be running RFID for your XC so no one has to manually time and so on if you wanted to down the track. But otherwise, just keep doing what you're doing for that.
Yeah, because at the moment they're just hitting the key manually for every athlete that crosses over. Is that right?
Yep.
And then line them up and key them in or scan them in.
Mm.
Yep. And you can key and scan in while the race is still running. You don't have to wait till the end of the race.
Okay.
You familiar with that part?
You mean scanning in the athlete's place over the line while the race is still going?
So here's a bunch of times. Race is still going. I'll key in some numbers.
You can scan them in.
Meanwhile, some more finishes.
Do we do that during summer season, Cameron?
Not often. We kind of, I don't know, depending on who's doing it, because we sort of, have, rotation and different people doing it week on week. It really just depends on who's doing it on the day. Some people are a bit more comfortable doing it that way. I guess we could certainly, and I think there might have been scenarios where it didn't work, or if you have to enter in a visitor or a come and try person, but typing in the name, that should still be okay. Is that right, Nick? If we're just putting in a visitor,
That's it.
should just work the same. For some reason, I find that that was an issue.
It's when you press the Shift key to do a capital letter, then you've recorded an extra time. So there are issues there.
Okay, yeah. So it's just a matter of putting in lowercase.
Or you can use your manual trigger. Yeah, but Shift is the hotkey to cause a trigger time.
Yeah, okay, yep. That makes sense.
Cool.
All right. Mate, that's great. I mean, I know you covered a lot of ground. And I know for Ros and maybe Cameron, thanks for being patient. Well, at least I had the opportunity to go through this because it's all pretty new to me. But I think it's been really valuable. And the fact that we've got it recorded, I've been talking to Mel. Unfortunately, she had internet issues and she couldn't log on.
Okay.
So it'd be good for her to see the recorded version. And also James McGregor, who's another guy who helps us out. It was his one, so he'll want to see the recorded version as well.
Okay, cool. Well, once we're finished, I'll upload it. That may take a little bit, but then I'll reply the link into your email earlier.
Fantastic. Look, thanks, Nick. I really appreciate your time.
No worries, Stephen. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, cheers.
Bye.
Bye.